like you are knows the term of plagiarism. This term is not new to most of you, and you are maybe expert in this topic. So let's make this session like a discussion session rather than teaching session. It will be a good opportunity to exchange our experience and to share our experience. We are from different universities in the region, and it will be good to exchange our experience together about this important topic. So let's start by the word of plagiarism itself, the origin of the word plagiarism. Can anyone know the origin of this word?
Yeah, I know the origin.
Is it Umaha?
Yeah. So it's from the word, the Latin word plagiaris, which means kidnapper.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
exactly.
When Professor Silverman ordered us to make a presentation about concept of ethics, chose plagiarism, and that's why I know the origin.
Thank you, Dr. Ma. You are totally right.
Why do you know the origin?
Because this was the first slide in the presentation I would send to you.
I see. Okay, very good, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Maha. Yes, it is derived from the Latin word plagiarius, which mean kidnapping or theft. So, by definition, we can know that plagiarism is just an act of fraud. It involves stealing someone's work and passing it off as my own work. Why plagiarism in academic field is a dilemma or is a problem? Why we are very concerned by plagiarism in academia? Any thoughts?
Zynab, do you mean like the pressure that we have to, that we force some people to commit plagiarism? That's what you mean?
Okay, what I actually mean in this slide that why plagiarism is a problem in the academic progress, why not allowing everybody to do whatever he wants and to do plagiarism or whatever, okay, it's some sort of freedom or to do what you'd like. But actually, Dr. Salsan, in academia, all of us are seeking for being credit or recognized for his or her work. Like recognition is very important for people in the academic life, and the people in academic life think that their contribution to the science will be recognized, and this will help to build their academic progress. Okay, like in the science or in the academic field, rarely somebody may be seeking for money or looking for money. All of us looking for accreditation and for recognition. And this is the difference between any of us, any scholar like me or like any junior scholar, and like these well-known figures, Albert Einstein or Isaac Newton. Those figures are in no danger to be forgotten. Okay, so citation of their work or maybe lacking of citation of their work will not affect their reputation in the academic field, right? But if you do some sort or if you do some work and you found that another person cites this work or takes this work without citing your name, what is your feeling in this position, or why do you think this is hard? So all of you,
it's dishonest behavior.
Dishonest behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why it is like a dishonest behavior, Dr. Maha?
Because you are stealing the work of someone else without referring to his or her efforts.
Great. That's exactly right. This is also a dishonest act. That I will lose my efforts that I tried to build, okay, and I will not be recognized anymore. So,
Can I add something else?
yes, Dr. Sausan, go on, please.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking about being dishonest in the medical research, like if you're recommending a drug or you're stating, like, you're doing a human subject research and you're giving, you're stealing somebody's ideas and you're trying to make it yours, which sometimes cannot even be compatible with what you find or not find, or do falsification or fabrication, that might lead to really loss of lives too, right? Am I
Loss
right?
of lives. How it can lead to loss of lives?
Like if somebody is gonna, usually when we do research, we insist that it has to be replicable, that anybody can do the same research that we did and it can be repeatable. So if somebody is using it or taking the dose that we recommended or something, and we stole it for somebody else and it wasn't compatible with our study, just for us to put data, or to make the data bigger, or to make it what we call it sufficient or significant. So that's might lead to that, or I'm just overthinking. I think I'm overthinking, right?
That's totally right, Dr. Sausan. Thank you for your input. Anyone have another thoughts?
Yes, if you allow me.
Yes, sure, Dr. Syed. Please go on.
I think using the words like recognition and feelings makes me feel that this is optional, but I think this is related to intellectual rights. So it's mandatory to cite or refer to other works, and it's not just to recognize them. This is their rights.
Yes, completely, this is right. Because also intellectual property is protected by law, not only by feeling, as you mentioned, Dr. Sayed. There's regulations and laws that prohibited students or colleagues or scholars from doing such acts, not only relying on that scholars should be honest or dishonest. There is a law and there is regulations for this. Thank you, Dr. Syed. Any thoughts? Okay, let's continue about the academic integrity in college and the graduate school. These figures are from a survey that have been done between 2002 and 2005 in many universities in USA, and they surveyed like 60,000.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I think we have a colleague. She needs to be logged in. I think Dr. Henry should accept her in the meeting.
Okay.
From a survey that have been done between 2002 and 2005, the researcher he surveyed like 60,000 of undergraduate and 9,000 of. So as I mentioned immediately before losses in the connection, plagiarism is pretty common in among students and among graduates as well, and it's something need to be addressed. I know that most of you are in the academic field, and maybe most of you do some sort of teaching for students or for postgraduates, and we usually face like what happened in this comics. Students didn't understand why they couldn't pass an exam, and they think that they are doing their best, and they found that all the problems in plagiarism. Does this happen with any of you with your students? Did you face this type of students who thinks that he is right, but in the fact he just copy all issues from the internet? Can anyone have tell me his experience? From my side, the student didn't differentiate between search and research. When we ask them to do research about something, they just go to Google, search for the topic, and then cut and paste or copy and paste paragraphs from Google and put it in their Word file, and that's it. Does it happen with any of you?
Yes, most of the time, yeah. And it actually happened with myself. I think every one of us, before we appreciate what does it mean, the plagiarism.
Yes,
We
I
used to
see.
do this in our master's thesis and MDC. Yeah, we used to do this actually.
Yes, Dr.
I had
Sora,
an
that's
experience.
right.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, I had this experience with the students. Now we're not taking final exams. We're asking them just to do research papers on specific titles. So some of them was really complaining about he cannot really write very well in English. So it's easier for them to copy everything from the internet, and nobody taught them how to like to do it in text citation or to do footnotes or something like that. So most of the research papers was rejected because of the plagiarism percentage, the high plagiarism percentage.
I see, Dr. Sausan, but you are in Ain Shams University, one of the most prestigious universities in Egypt. Does the university have any regulations or maybe published regulations to regulate the act of plagiarism, or to like warn students not to plagiarize most of their work?
Actually, they had rules, and they told everybody that they're gonna have the plagiarism checker program checking in all their papers. But due to COVID and the students weren't really prepared to do research, I think I had this problem only with first year of the college, because usually by the second year I'm teaching the ethic research and the RCR. So some of them at least aware of what the meaning of plagiarism. But we didn't have the same problem with the third year and the fourth year. But first year was really a disaster, and everybody has to redo their research, and I'm still waiting for the results from the plagiarism checker program again.
I see. Thank you, Dr. Sausan. My question, would you think that this is a problem among Egyptians or among those who are not speaking English in at their first language, or do you think this is a worldwide problem?
Well,
So
I'm not sure. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead first.
No, it's fine. I thought that was asking everyone. So maybe you can continue, and then I would clarify my point.
Okay,
The thing is, I cannot speak for everybody, but when I was doing my PhD in the States, I stayed for like 2 or 3 years only listening before I was able to really speak English, or really good English, or I can pronounce that. So I cannot blame anybody in the third world country if we are not exposed to the right English speakers or the way that we are teaching our students. We have to set an example for them first. So we tell them don't do plagiarism. So when we put our slides, we have to have the reference, we have to cite everything that we're saying. So when they even trying to use our lectures to guide them through their research, at least we have to have this, your first slide that you had in the beginning of the presentation, or what we should and shouldn't do this for. You know what I mean?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sausan. Dr. Maha, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I just want to ask about paraphrasing. So if I'm going to copy and paste the paragraphs from a certain article, and I would cite this and add the reference, why should I paraphrase? I was asked actually this question before, and I couldn't answer. Because if you are not a native English speaker, maybe you could change the meaning by paraphrasing if you didn't get the whole meaning of a paragraph or scientific fact, and then you paraphrase in wrong way, you could change the meaning in the wrong way, and then you would add the reference also, and you would refer something wrong to the author or the article writer. You know what I mean?
Yes, I see your point, Dr. Maha. You are speaking about type of plagiarism, which is known as paraphrasing plagiarism, and we are lucky that we will discuss this now. Like a few slides later, we will discuss paraphrasing plagiarism. But I think the problem with paraphrasing plagiarism that after doing paraphrasing, the researcher didn't do proper citation, even after paraphrasing the words, or even after reading a paragraph and then paraphrase it on my own words. That's not enough. I also have to cite the researcher who have the original paper, or who I have read his original publication. So paraphrasing by itself may be considered plagiarism if I didn't do proper citations.
Now, that's a very important topic, paraphrasing, and we'll talk more about it. But even with proper citation, there are still other issues involved.
Yes,
Paraphrasing.
Yes, I see. Because actually there's a tricky types of plagiarism that we unintentionally do it, like what is called as patchwork paraphrasing or mosaic plagiarism. And also, like few slides later, we will discuss it together, inshallah.
Right.
But thank you, Professor Henry. What I'd like to say that plagiarism is not just for those who are not speaking English, or for their mother tongue is not in English, but for everyone in the world. And I'd like to watch this video with you. This is a funny video from an American movie, but the main idea from it is that not only those who are not English speakers facing the problem, but also all over the world, like students in USA, students in UK, and so on, they are still facing difficulty in the scientific writing, and this may push them to do some sort of plagiarism. I will send it to Professor Harry, or send it via the email. It's like a funny movie that demonstrates the idea about what we are speaking now. So let's do these activities together. You can use the annotate tape, okay? And write in this page what constitutes as plagiarism. What do you think this act is a plagiarism? Just doing copy and paste is a plagiarism, or what would you think? Okay, let's have 7 minutes from now. It's 6:51. We will end this by 6:40. Okay. Can you use the annotate tab using text, something like that, and write, copy?
Where's the?
Is a plagiarism. What else? What is rather than copy and paste? Just put your thought on the screen or on the chat if you'd like to discuss it together. Dr. Thomas, what about your country? Self-plagiarism. Great. What else? All of us can use the annotate tab and write on the screen. Image plagiarism. Great. What else? Actually, writing in this board is anonymous. Like I couldn't differentiate who wrote what. So feel free to put all your ideas and all your seeds on the screen. ideas, stealing ideas, right? I think that someone added a type of plagiarism, but he put it on top of the self-plagiarism, so it's not clear for me what's the type of plagiarism he'd like to mention. Accidental plagiarism. Before we discuss together all types of plagiarism and all the types you have wrote about plagiarism, all of these types are right, okay? But let's do like a practice, like 5-minute practice. We will take a paragraph from publication on PubMed Central. This is abstract about COVID-19. And we'd like to read this paragraph and then paraphrasing it, okay? And we will not able to cite the authors, okay? But let's do the practice. Let's read it together and then paraphrase the abstract into our own words and then share it with others. To understand how paraphrasing could happen or how can we avoid to copy and paste text from the original word and put it in our work. Let's take 5 minutes. You can do it in chat, okay? And then I will take your answers on the chat and I will present it here to all of us. It will take like 5 minutes. It's okay. Just we can summarize this paragraph in 3 or 4 lines, or just in your words. No, I don't have a plagiarism checkers, but but we'd like to avoid the copy and paste plagiarism and also to understand the patchwork or mosaic plagiarism, because most or not most, some of us, what is doing is to take sentences from a paragraph and put it in on his own paragraph, and this results in at the end to a plagiarism also. So I just want to demonstrate that plagiarism don't mean that to avoid copy and paste, but also to do paraphrasing in a professional manner. Would you like to take maybe 3 or 4 minutes to do this activity?
So you're asking each person to paraphrase this whole paragraph?
Yes, exactly. So let's discuss what we have right. Dr. Sarah Makki, do you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah, for your input. You said like COVID-19, a potentially fatal disease caused by the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2, represents a worldwide major health problems. And this is a very nice summarization of the most important ideas within this topics, okay? But actually, to get benefit of this exercise, could you, as an academic scholar, could you share with us your strategies in writing to avoid plagiarism, or your experience about plagiarism?
Actually, I don't have a strategy. I just do it. I don't know.
Trial and error. Okay.
Yeah. I do not know the basics to do it. Yeah. I just do not try not to change the meaning. I try to get some words with the same meaning.
Okay.
To change the expression, maybe change some grammar phrase after phrase to change the position of the phrases, but I not a specific strategy.
Yes, I see. So what would you think? Would you think that to avoid plagiarism is just a piece of cake, or something that need training and need experience?
Of course,
What do you think?
It needs vocabulary, a lot of vocabulary.
Yes, I see.
Language, good language with grammar. to do the paraphrasing.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sara. I will share with you by the end of this activities some things that I discovered like 5 or 4 days ago about how to avoid plagiarism. Not how to avoid plagiarism, but how to proceed in your paper or in your work, or how to scientifically write easier than the normal ways that we used before. So I will share it with you, inshallah. But let's move to Dr. Sausan al-Atiq paragraph. Dr. Sausan said that coronavirus is responsible for a toll deaths of large human population, especially susceptible ones. It is well known as the SARS-CoV, which appeared in 2018 in Wuhan County, and the way it's spreading referred to its zoonotic origin. The hope now rising because the gain of way much more information about its transmission and control. Still, researchers doing their best to keep working on identifying different strains through its symptoms and genetic preferences, looking for a cure. Dr. Sausan, can you share with us your experience on how to avoid plagiarism during writing?
Yeah, actually, I learned the hard way. I think the only thing for me is keep reading tons of paper. So you have your own ideas, your own words that you can put together. So for me, 5 minutes wasn't good. You know what, wasn't long enough for me to summarize it. I didn't know that I have to summarize it. I thought only paraphrasing it. But I think I skimmed through it and I wrote what I felt I understood from the abstract, and I wrote it my own way. I didn't think about paraphrasing it as much as I thought that explain it in my own way. Maybe it's not perfect English, but I think I collected the most important facts in the abstract. Even though I understand everything in it, sometimes it goes beyond my understanding because I'm not an MD, but I asked actually all my students to write about the COVID-19. So for me, it was, you know, I don't know if I did it right or not, but I think everybody really summarized it and I didn't. So I'm not sure how well I did, actually.
Thank you, Dr. Sausan. Just we wanted to challenge ourselves to understand the how plagiarism is a difficult topic, not just an easy topic. And you raised a very, very important point that without sufficient scientific background about the topic, no one will be able to write down his or her own words or his or her own input. So it's very, very important to do literature review about the topic before even start to write any word in your paper. That's very important. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, ask a question, please.
Yes, sure.
I have a question, please. Does it differ which part I'm writing? Is it the abstract or the background in the paper? I mean, because in the background or the introduction, we usually put the reference. Does it differ if I add some information to you know what I mean? For example, if he said he talked here about coronavirus, about the COVID-19, but he didn't say that it's due to the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Can I add an information? You know what I mean?
Could you say it again, please, Dr. Sara? I may miss your point of view.
I mean, because in the introduction, we should write a reference. In the abstract, we usually do not write reference in the abstract.
Yes.
Can I, in the introduction or the background part of the paper, add some information to the paragraph according to my knowledge?
Yes, I see your point. Okay, Dr. Sara, I will answer to the best of my knowledge, and Professor Henry could correct me if I'm wrong. I think the aim of the introduction is to summarize what is known about that topic till the moment, and to highlight the gap in the knowledge, and to mention your aim in this study. this is the knowledge, this is the gap, and I aim to do 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean, but putting your own information on the introduction, or you mean maybe you mean that to put some of the findings of your findings on the introduction.
For example, if you didn't mention here that the virus is contracted in the wet animal market, can I add this information to the paragraph and put the reference, not putting the new reference, only putting the reference?
Yes, I think that I got your idea or your point. You can put citation for everything you wrote in the introduction, okay? Maybe except for facts or very popular knowledge. You can skip adding citation. Otherwise, you should or you have to cite your information. Professor Henry, can you help Dr. Maha about her inquiry?
Well, I'm not really sure if I understand the question. I mean, Zynab, you're right. In the introduction, you want to demonstrate what has been done and what's the next step in gathering more information about the topic, and which is the purpose of the research. However, having said that, the introduction, you're supposed to like summarize very briefly what is the state of the art of the current topic. The introduction, you don't want it to be very exhausted of all the information. You don't want to provide details. So having said that, I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay, Dr. Henry, Dr. Ma asked the ability to add some phrases or some sentences in the introduction without putting citation.
Well, I mean, what do you mean phrases or paraphrasing? I mean, you want to, in your own words, summarize what's been done. And this is
let me say it another way. Can I add to this abstract just a phrase saying, for example, that the COVID-19 affects mainly the respiratory system and causes respiratory failure? Can I just add it? It's a new information.
well,
Can I just
yeah, I mean, you could, I mean, yeah, you could say it causes respiratory illness, and you don't have to cite any paper for that. I mean, that is common knowledge. There's probably 1,000 papers that talks about COVID and respiratory illness, so it's common knowledge by now. Now, if you start citing, you know, it has a fatality rate of 20 to 30%, then you might want to cite a paper.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Either in the abstract or in the introduction.
Well, first of all, an abstract usually never has any references.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, an abstract is just that. It's just very general information. You're not going to start, I mean, think about it. How many lines is the introduction or the background part of an abstract?
Mm-hmm.
2 lines, 3 lines?
Yes.
Right? So you're not going to be giving any detailed information. The purpose of the background section of the abstract is essentially state why you're doing this study. And so it should not be more than 2 or 3 lines. All right, good question. Zynab?
Professor?
Let me show something.
Yeah, sure.
Could you, right? Paraphrasing that paragraph, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what I have on my screen is a plagiarism checker, okay? And I'm going to check for plagiarism, okay? There's paraphrasing, and then there's paraphrasing, all right? And even if you cite the source, okay, I mean, essentially, you don't want to paraphrase to the point where almost every word is coming from the original passage. I mean, when you paraphrase, you want to put it in your own words.
Exactly.
You don't want to take a paragraph and change 1 or 2 words. And even if you cite the reference, that's not good scientific writing, because you're using someone else's words. And and that's why I don't agree with the concept, well, if you paraphrase, if you cite the reference, life is good. Okay, so I'm not trying to pick on you, okay, but I saw the first chat, so I copied that. So let's check for plagiarism.
I just wrote everything in a slang English, so no judging.
Don't worry, you don't have to justify anything now. Let's just see what happens.
That wasn't planned.
Okay. All right, so no plagiarism found. Okay, good. Very good. So excellent jobs, right? So so you did an excellent job. Sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes this says 10% or 15%. Okay, and the whole point is that I find this useful because, again, if you took, well, I'm not going to be able to Zynab, could you copy and paste that whole paragraph you put on your PowerPoint slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I will put it in the chat box, right?
Yeah, in the chat box. Right. Oh,
no, it's on the chat box.
Okay. All right, so yeah, so let's say here's the original paragraph. Now here's the original paragraph, and I just changed a few words around. Okay. Yeah, instead of patients, individuals. So I'm paraphrasing, right? I'm just changing a few words. All right, and so let me check for plagiarism. Oh, where did you get that paragraph from?
I got this from a paper published on PubMed. Its name is the Epidemiology and Pathogen of Coronavirus Disease. I will copy the link and I will send it to you.
All right, no, that's fine, because here's the results.
Oh my God.
So 100%. All right. So I changed a few words around, and here gives here's the sources. Okay. Yeah. And it says 100% plagiarism. So, you know, that just brings up the issue. All right, I paraphrase it. I changed a few words around. All right. And I gave the source. Okay. But it's, I think what I'm trying to say, I like to take this concept one step further. It isn't sufficient just to change a few words around and say, and get the citation and say, all right, you did a good job, okay? But the thing is, you're not, if you don't say it in your own words, how do you know you actually understood the paragraph? Unless you put it in your own words. So there's the concept of putting it in your own words and putting it in your own words. Okay, if you just change a few words around, you're taking someone else's way of presenting the information. Now, you could say, you could put the whole paragraph in quotes, right? And
not the whole
that,
picture.
right? And so my point is, sometimes, like, you all did this discussion forum, right? And sometimes when I have students write in the discussion forum, essentially 95% of what they write is in quotes. And they give the citation, okay? However, I don't want to see that. I want to see something in your own words. And I don't want 80% of your paper to be in quotes. Okay, is that am I getting across that concept? So I want people, so I'm essentially verging on the border of what I call critical thinking. I want you to be able to take that paragraph and state it in your own words, not just change a few words. When you hand in a written assignment, I don't want the written assignment to be 80% in quotes. I want to see some critical thinking. So that is what I call the next step in the concept of plagiarism. So again, you know, if you hand in a paper and 80% is in quotes with good citation, that's unacceptable in my mind. Now, one may not call that plagiarism. I would call that lazy thinking. But I just want to advance this whole concept of plagiarism, okay? Just one step further. And this is why, you know, I use this plagiarism checker to see. So even though I changed a few words, guess what? It's 100% plagiarism. And again, even if you put down your citation, that's still unacceptable from an academic point of view. So anyway, I just wanted to get that point across. Zynab, you could share your screen.
Thank you, Professor Henry, for this
Professor,
clarification.
may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I totally got the concept, okay, but again, my concern about the understanding of the researcher or the scholar, what he understood things in a wrong way, and he wrote according to what he understood, but it was not clear or was not right. Did you get my point? I mean, it's like an English issue, and not that I'm objecting the concern or the point. I accept that we should like paraphrase in our own understanding of the article and to write it down in my own words. But what if I didn't understand fully the article, and when I wrote it down in my own words, it was not correct?
Well, then that's another problem.
Yeah, it's a major one. It's maybe a bigger than the plagiarism.
Well, exactly. I agree with you. It's a bigger problem than plagiarism. If you paraphrase something, and I see that, I also see that someone paraphrases a text from an article and they get it exactly wrong, and that's a problem with critical thinking. Okay, so I agree with you. That's a problem that's bigger than plagiarism.
And can the plagiarism checker detect this?
What's that?
Can the plagiarism checker detect this? I mean,
no.
It only works on
plagiarism checker is not going to do the thinking for you.
And that's why.
Excuse me, I think Dr. Sousen wants to come in.
Why are people coming and leaving the room all the time?
No,
everyone's here.
Because of internet connection. Sometimes internet connection is not that good in Egypt.
All right, well, everyone's in, I think.
Can I add something as well?
Yeah, sure.
No, Dr. Sousen is not on.
Professor Silverman, I think it's also a language problem as well. It's not just about the critical thinking, it's a language issue as well. I remember when I was also reading lots of, because for example, for myself, when I was reading lots of legal texts, there was no one speaking in my language that I could share my ideas and my understanding of a context. So I had to rewrite my understanding from an article or a chapter of a book, and to, rehearse it several times and read it again, and to make sure that I understood exactly what the author is saying. And I was just hopeful that what I'm writing in my own words is exactly what the author is meaning,
It's I agree with you, and even people who speak good English, they could look at a text and not understand it.
Okay. Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Yes.
Okay. And
yes, I see.
All right. So I'll give you my own personal example. When I got really interested in ethics, and I started to take philosophy courses. Okay?
Oh my God.
And started to read the original texts of Aristotle and Kant. Okay?
Nightmare.
Trust me. I have no problems in English, but I could not understand what the heck they were writing about in the beginning. Okay? So
yes, and philosophical context is the most difficult text to understand in any language.
What?
Philosophical context texts are the most difficult text to understand.
Right, and so it's not only the language.
Yes, you are right.
I mean, the language is an issue, and hence that's one of the reasons why I only accepted people in this program who have already passed their English proficiency requirement.
I see.
Okay. Having said that, I still do understand the fact that there may be issues understanding certain passages in English. Okay. But anyway, all right, good. So let's move on. Good, great.
Professor, would you please let Dr. Sousen in? She's not online.
Well, I don't see any requests.
She's trying to join.
Anyone in the waiting room? Just because she's not online doesn't mean she's in the waiting room.
Okay, so give her the meeting was not started.
I don't understand the question.
I mean, she's trying to open the same link. but it gave a message that the meeting host will let you in soon, as if we didn't
I don't
start.
have anyone in the waiting room waiting to get in.
Yeah.
It gives her this message, yeah, of the way.
So she's still having internet problems.
No.
Well, let's move on. I mean, I can't. Oh, okay. There she is now. Okay.
Great. Wonderful.
All right. Good.
Okay, thank you, Professor Henry, and thank you, colleagues, for this wonderful discussion. Before moving in, Dr. Said, you put your input about this abstract. Would you like to share with us your experience on how to avoid plagiarism? Do you have any suggestions or any thoughts?
Yes, maybe I will repeat what was already said, but the most important for me is to read the text several times so that I can understand the idea. And the main point here that I will take from this text what will serve for my idea or for the aim of my writing. I am writing for something, so I will not take 3 or 4 sentences. I need something, so I will read it and take what will serve my topic and try to write it in my own words.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Dr. Said. I think all of us, by time, will build his or her own strategies on how to do a good scientific writing. This, of course, beside the training and beside taking courses in scientific writing. But what I'd like to share with you is that I found that when I read a text in English and I'd like to take information from this text to put it in my own work, sometimes I try to write what I have understand from this in Arabic first, and then translate what I put in Arabic again into English in a proper English to avoid direct or to avoid taking direct sentences from the original text and put it on the word. Sometimes it may be beneficial and it may be advisable for people who are not speaking English as their native language. Anyway, I think Professor Henry, you have some lectures on scientific writing later in the course. It will be very interesting to join this session. So let's move on about types of plagiarism.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sure, Dr. Maha,
So,
go on.
I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but is there a rule that we could not repeat 6 words the same way that was written in the original article? Is this correct? When doing paraphrasing, is there a rule of certain number of words that cannot be repeated, or did you get my point?
Dr. Ma, what I have read about your questions, that if you found that you are going to repeat more than maybe 3 or 4 sentences from one text, then you have to cite this text. That is not your own word, and paraphrasing by itself is not enough. Okay, and you have to cite this, and you have to cite the original author. Does it make a sense?
It's not about the citation. I mean, during paraphrasing, is there like minimum words or sentences that cannot be repeated in the same way, so that we are not detected with the plagiarism or not accused with plagiarism?
I understand your point of view. Dr. Henry also can help us about this topic, but what I have read on, I can share with you it later. I couldn't remember where I have read it specifically, but what I have read that if you have to repeat more than 3 or 4 words from the paragraph, you have to do citation, okay, or do paraphrasing for this, because plagiarism checker, yes, it will detect it. If it's 4 or 3 papers from the same sentences, yes, it will detect it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mahal. Let's move on about types of plagiarism. The most common, or maybe the most known type of plagiarism, is the copy, just to copy and paste from one paragraph, and this is maybe pretty common among students rather than graduate students, because they are not aware about the process of how to avoid the plagiarism. The second thing is patchwork. Maybe some of you see this picture before. If you are going to write your paper, it's a funny picture. If you take the neck of the elephant and if you take the body from another paper, and you mix it to another new paper, and you think this is your original work, no, you are right. So as we said, patchwork plagiarism or mosaic plagiarism is still a sort of plagiarism, and it could be detected by plagiarism checkers, as Professor Silverman showed it us. This is an example of patchwork plagiarism. You know, these words in lighter color are taken exactly from the original text, okay? And this word is in black color is my own words, or is my input. This is a sort of plagiarism. This is what I mean by patchwork plagiarism. You put some sentences or take some sentences from one paper and you insert it by some way into your work. So this is a plagiarism, and that could be detected by the program, and the paper could be rejected, unfortunately. Did you get the idea about patchwork plagiarism or mosaic plagiarism? Another type of plagiarism is paraphrasing plagiarism. This occurs when we plagiarize phrases or summarize another work without citing the source. And in this slide, we will add what Professor Henry said, that paraphrasing with citation alone is not enough. The paragraph that you should in your own paper should be by your own expression, your own words. Okay, not just paraphrase some words or I know it's tricky and it's difficult for us, especially we are native English speakers, but I think we should take care of this type of plagiarism per se. Also, unintentional plagiarism, this happens when the writer incorrectly quotes or incorrectly cites a source that they are using, maybe citing a wrong source, or maybe citing a source that doesn't give the same meaning. Sometimes it's plagiarism happen unintentionally. Also, there's another type of plagiarism, which is self-plagiarism, and this have been raised by some of you. Self-plagiarism occurs when I do a publication of my own data that have already been published, okay, without citation of myself. This is not correct, okay? But why self-plagiarism is considered a misconduct? Can anyone give me a rapid thought about this? Why self-plagiarism is considered as misconduct? This is my own work and I take it again and put in another work without citing myself. Is that acceptable?
It's a misconduct because it means I published 2 papers with the same knowledge. I should have been published only 1 paper. So I used twice to have more publication. That's not my right.
Yes, that's exactly. Dr. Said, would you like to add anything rather what Dr. Salsan said?
Yes, the same idea. There is no added value.
Exactly. There is no meaning that I do an augmentation for my publication by doing self-plagiarism. Like self-plagiarize the publication don't contribute to scientific work, and there is no justification to put it again on or to publish it again. This is the idea about self-plagiarism. Actually, also there is another types of plagiarism, which is called duplicate plagiarism. Duplicate plagiarism or replication plagiarism. Some of you also raised these issues. It occurs when an author submits identical or almost identical manuscript to two different papers. And he tended to publish the same work twice, or put it or raise it for publication twice. Also, augmented publication have been raised by someone here. Augmented publication happen if the author adds the additional data to his or her previously published work and just change the title, modify the aim of the study, do some recalculate of the results, and then publish it again. Like from its name, it's just augmentation. Just new. This is no new knowledge, no new scientific knowledge, just augmentation. Also, segmented publication, and if you know the term salami sliced plagiarism, it is known as salami sliced plagiarism. It is well known than segmented publication. In this case, two or more papers are derived from the same experiment or from the same research. And salami sliced papers are difficult to detect. Like it's difficult even for the editors to detect that this is a salami publication or salami plagiarism. And sometimes editors ask the researchers to do his justification why he do that, and if the editor is not satisfied with the justification, he can reject or retract the paper. Also, text recycling. This happens if the author used large portion of his or her own work that already published the text in his or her new manuscripts. It's called text recycling. Like he recycles the text from one paper and put it as it is in another paper, maybe because it is the same methods, or maybe it is the same process of the research. But in any way, the researchers must be ready by his or her own justification for why he has to do that. If there is no acceptable reason to do that, so he put himself on a risk to be rejected. Secondary source plagiarism. This happens also when researchers use secondary source like meta-analysis, but only cites the primary resource. Like he didn't give any credit for the authors who did the meta-analysis. Okay, and actually the problem with secondary source plagiarism is that it gives a false sense of the amount of reviews that went into the research. You just take the review of another one and you put it in your own work and you cite the original one. So sometimes it's it could be detected as some sort of plagiarism. This infographic have been taken.
Can I ask a
Sure,
question?
Doctor. Yes.
So, I want to ask about plagiarism checking. Does it check just the copy and paste and mosaic and something like the text plagiarism, or it detects also the double publication, the secondary plagiarism, and you know what I mean?
Yes, I think it would be easier for the program to detect duplicate publication. I think it will be more easier than to detect patch or paraphrasing.
Also the salami, plagiarism, the secondary plagiarism. Can you check it? The plagiarism checker?
Actually, I don't have that experience with plagiarism checkers. I don't know. In fact, I don't know if it's able to detect salami plagiarism or segmented publication. But I think it is the same idea. If someone take a major part of his of paper A and put it in paper B, so plagiarism checker will be easily detected.
So, salami plagiarism is a little bit different from copy and pasting. In the sense that salami plagiarism, I mean, actually calling it plagiarism is a poor choice of words. I mean, what is salami plagiarism? It's when you take your research study and you divide up the results in different papers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So in my mind, and the problem with that now, sometimes that's okay if you have data from one research study that really doesn't depend on the other data in the research study, then it's okay to publish two papers. However, sometimes people like to leave out some data that really is important to the other data set.
Yeah.
And that could lead to a lot of confusion about the accuracy of the reporting. So in that sense, it's really not plagiarism in the usual sense of the word, if that's making sense.
Yeah, and does the pool check it? The checker?
So the checker is not going to be able to check whether you reported all your research results in one paper, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have that level of thinking.
Yeah, it's just the text on the copy and paste.
Yes, right. It's just the text, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it is on the shoulder of the editors. The editors is a person who will be able to detect if it is just some sort of plagiarism or not, even by asking the author or by asking the researchers to put his justification why he do this salami publication, maybe.
Yeah.
So let's move to this pictures. This is taken from the Authenticate website. Authenticate is a plagiarism checker. They did some statistics about what they have detected, and they found that one of the most common and most serious types of plagiarism is the paraphrasing plagiarism. Also, they found that secondary source plagiarism is a major problem, repetitive or application research plagiarism, duplication, and some problems of authorship that is considered also as a plagiarism, like unethical collaboration or misleading attribution. This is the most common types of plagiarism they received via their program. So how to avoid plagiarism and your experience? I think we discuss our experience together, but it still need more training and still need more experience courses. One of the beneficial courses I have found is a Stanford course. This is like a free course on Coursera, and it may be helpful. It's like for beginners who start to who already have started their academic career. So let's move this slide. So the message is to avoid plagiarism, researchers should be honest, but this is not enough. As Dr. Said mentioned earlier, laws and regulations are very important to regulate the process. Also, training and improving scientific writing skill is very, very important. Also using programs, as Professor Henry said, he always uses checkers, maybe Authenticate, which is used in my university, Turnitin, I think it's used in Maryland University, I'm not sure. And many plagiarism checkers that already present on the network. And thank you for your listening. Thank you for sharing your experience. And I just want to ask if any one of you would like to share with us a specific experience with plagiarism, whether it happened to him or to one of his peers. For me, when I first sent my first paper, like 3 years ago, I have sent my first paper for publications. Like 1 day or 2 days later, the paper came back to me, and the editor decisions that there is a great similarity between this paper and between what have been published. Actually, I couldn't understand what does that actually mean, but later
What did the editor say?
The editor said that there is a great similarity, but between what you have done and what is in on the network or on the other publication.
Right.
And I later understand that this is he wanted to politely say this is a plagiarism.
Right.
So this was my experience. If you'd like to share your experience.
Well, I mean, all the good journals nowadays will, before they send it out to reviewers, will check for plagiarism.
Actually, this happened with me.
Right. And that's why I said before I submit a manuscript, I send it out for, I submit it to a plagiarism checker, just to be sure, because you read articles and you don't know when you pick up words that are very similar to the original paper. Now, a plagiarism checker does not check to see if you cited the sources. Okay, that's why I went through that previous exercise. And so again, even if you took a paragraph and just changed a few words, people are not going to accept that. And even if you put it in quotes, the plagiarism checker will read that as plagiarism. Now, having said that, a good journal editor, when an article comes back, let's say 50% plagiarism, the editor has to investigate which parts are being plagiarized. Now, if the editor sees that you have put in, the proper sources, then that might be acceptable. However, an editor may decide, well, yeah, they paraphrased, and cited the source, but I don't want to publish a paper in which most of the words are not their own, even if it's cited, because academically, that's not scientific integrity. Now, another example is one time I submitted a paper and the editor said there's too much plagiarism in the paper, and we went through the paper, and his plagiarism checker picked up a phrase that said, all the authors declare that they have no conflict of interest. And that was picked up as plagiarism.
Sure.
And I said to the editor, why is that plagiarism? Oh, well, that's because the checker said so, that kind of stuff. So, so you can't depend 100% on the plagiarism checker, because they will pick up sentences that are in almost every publication, like all authors declare that they have no conflict of interest, right? And so now, having said that, if your paper if the plagiarism checker comes back saying it's 60%, then you have problems. So usually, if it's less than 20%, it's probably okay. So So me as a teacher, as you mentioned before, in Blackboard, they have a plagiarism checker. And all written assignments go through the plagiarism checker. And if I see, something that's less than 20%, I ignore it. But just recently, I'm telling you, just recently, a few weeks ago, a student handed in an assignment and went through the plagiarism checker. It's at 52% and cited the paper where most of the words were taken from. And essentially, I told the student, could you rewrite this paper without plagiarizing this article? And so I recommend everyone to get a hold of some free plagiarism checker to use. Now, so I will tell you now, in the courses that you will be taking starting in the fall in Blackboard, they all have the plagiarism checker, so you will be able to use that for your written assignments.
Wonderful.
Okay? All right. So that's my, and my only other personal experience is before, if I don't have the availability of a plagiarism checker, usually when I read someone's written assignment, and I apologize if what I say now offends anybody, but if I'm reading a written assignment and all of a sudden I see something that's written really, really well, I get suspicious.
That's it true.
What's that?
That's it true. You have the right to be suspicious about it.
Right, and then what I do is I Google a sentence or two, and then I find the original paper.
The original article.
Okay, so let me just say, there's a lot of reasons why people tend to plagiarize, and I know English is a second language for a lot of people and all that. But all I'm saying is that, well, Zynab, you gave an example of what happened to you. I am 100% sure you did not purposefully plagiarize on that paper.
It was like 4 years ago, and I'm not sure. In fact, maybe unintentional plagiarism, maybe.
Well, unintentional plagiarism, okay? But I'm saying, just because of that, people should check their own work.
Sure.
Just to be sure.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Professor,
right.
one last question.
Yes.
So if I check my work using a free online plagiarism checker, is there a risk that when I upload my paper or my work that it could be saved to that? Because one time a senior colleague told me it's not a good idea to use a free online plagiarism checker because they could like have your paper or save it on their web. I'm not sure if this is correct or not.
I have no idea.
So do you recommend to use the free online plagiarism checker? It's fine.
What do you want me to say?
Yes or
I have
no?
no idea. So what do you want me to say?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay, I have two things. First thing, I think the plagiarism checkers, the information that you got, I think it's slightly wrong. Usually, I've been told the same thing, but I check them to see something like this if it's correct or not. The problem is when you check online, it's already attaching. It's not like saving your paper, but it's attaching it to everything that you, you know, like plagiarized from. So it doesn't save it, but every time you're gonna upload it, it's gonna give you the illusion that you self-plagiarized or you are committing plagiarism. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, so it would give me like a higher plagiarism percentage
Yes.
every time I re-upload it.
Yes, unfortunately, yes. But I know that in Ain Shams University, we actually have a license, like multiple license to use Authenticate or plagiarism checker, but only for a certain number of words, which is really sad. But that's as far as I know. I didn't try to do this yet. So that's as far as I know. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Well, let me just say that in this program, I will give you many opportunities to plagiarize. Just don't take advantage of it.
To plagiarize or not to plagiarize.
That just means I'll give you opportunities to write papers. How's that? All right.
Okay.
Just don't take advantage of those opportunities. Now, all right. This good discussion. Very important discussion. Very important.
Thank you.
All right. Any final thoughts?
I had actually a question, not a thought. Can I?
Yes.
So the way that you presented and the way that Zynab presented, are we supposed to follow your footsteps in this for our presentation, our 5 minutes presentation?
Oh, Zynab, they're asking about the 5-minute presentation that I've asked them to do. Listen, you got 5 minutes, okay? You don't have time for engaging the audience in 5 minutes, okay? You could ask people to raise their hands, blah, 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 but you're not gonna, I mean, for 5 minutes, I just want you to present, okay? I mean, you could, you know, you could engage the audience by asking a question and, you know, having people just say something for a few seconds. But think about it, 5 minutes, you're not going to have time for, the whole point of the presentation is presentation skills. You're not going to have time to demonstrate engaging the audience in 5 minutes, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Good question. Thanks for asking that. You know, I don't want you to do elaborate engagement activities. That's not the point. I want to see how you do PowerPoint slides. Zynab, go through your PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
Just, you know, just quickly.
This is the first slide.
Oh, okay. How many slides do you have?
I think 30 slides maybe, or 25.
Okay. All right. So, like, I mean, go ahead. Just go quickly.
Do you know, you want the number of slides, right?
No, just go through the slides.
Okay.
That's it. That's a good slide. Good use of pictures. That's a good slide. So the slides has lots of pictures. I mean, it's not just a title and text. Okay, it engages the audience, these slides.
This is the last slide.
And so I'm also looking to see how you do your PowerPoint slides. And if the traditional PowerPoint slide is you have a title and all bullet points. And it's okay to have a few of those slides, but you know, spend time trying to add pictures and images and color. Now, I'm sorry I said that because I've seen people use a different color for every letter in a word. Don't do that. Okay, there's color and then there's color. I don't want every other word to be a different color. That's not what I mean by using color. Okay. So anyway, so that's the whole point of the presentation. I want to see how you present, how you logically present your ideas. Presentation also takes in critical thinking. How do you organize your thoughts? Is there a beginning, a middle, and an end? Does it follow a logical flow? And how are the PowerPoints? So I'm not testing for how you engage the audience, all right? You don't got that much time in 5 minutes. All right, good. Very good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. This was good. I at least I didn't get the feeling. I mean, we spent more than 4 hours together, so I don't think it was all that boring. It was very active, and you're a very active group. You ask good questions, and so we appreciate the feedback. Okay. All right, good. So tomorrow is just one session in the morning because I got meetings in the afternoon. So we'll start again. I'll send out another link. Okay. All right. So it's anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay. All right. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.